And hello, everyone, and welcome back to Dwain Woode MD Live. If you've been fasting, if you've been training, if you've been eating better, and still feel stuck, then you may be overlooking a key piece to the metabolic puzzle, and that is rest. And tonight's episode is called Why You're Not Healing, the Rest You're Missing. Hey, that's what we're going to be talking about in this episode as we move through the Limitless Living Health Action Plan. And if you're new to me, I'm Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. We're creating the life we've always wanted. I'm talking to adults with type 2 diabetes who want to reverse their diabetes, who want to get off of diabetes medications. And I'm talking to people who have chronic diseases like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, fatty liver, heart disease, obesity, and all the diseases along the metabolic spectrum. If you want to reverse it, this is the place for you. And if you're new, go ahead and put new in the comments because I'd love to welcome you with a hand clap and some music and let you know that I am excited that you're here in this space. And if you have questions, go ahead and put those questions in the comments because we want to get to those as we move throughout the episode. So whatever platform you are joining us from, whether that's LinkedIn or Twitch or Twitter, well, we're not on Twitter, or YouTube or Facebook, I am glad that you are here in this space because we welcome you, and welcome our community members. I see some of our community members that are out there right now. We'll get over and say hello to them here in just a minute. And as you know how we do, I've got my monitors that we'll take a look at. I've got right over here my Keto Mojo and my Contour. And then, of course, right below me is my Dexcom Clarity Report so you can see what's been going on with my blood sugars over the last little bit, okay? If you have not joined us yet in our MOVE campaign, that's metabolic optimization via exercise, right? So we've got two arms that we've been doing so far, walking and strength training. If you've not done that yet, you want to make sure that you get over to our YouTube channel and go ahead and watch because it is an amazing thing that we are doing. In fact, let me go ahead and pull that up right now so you can see some of what we've been doing in the morning. Every morning at 6 a.m. we're out there and we're building, we're toning our body, we're learning strength, strategy, and mindset. So make sure you get over there. All of that is on YouTube in our playlist. Right now we are on day 44 of the strength strategy and mindset. We've already completed 109 days in our walking episode, 100 days walk to consistency. But those are two of the key features of the MOVE campaign, and they are integral in our Limitless Living Health Action Plan as well. So if you've not been doing that yet, I want to encourage you to get over there and begin moving through that space with us, okay? So let's go ahead and let's take a look at some blood sugars so we can see what's been going on. So here is what my Freestyle Libre says my blood sugar is. And you see there that most of the day, and so my blood sugar right now is right there, 86. And if you look further down into the graph, that white squiggly line right there, that's where my blood sugar has been today. And you'll see for most of the day it's been below 100. I guess at the beginning of the day it was above 100, and then I'm assuming that's right after lunch we peaked up right above 200, right above 100, maybe 110, and we'll take a look at that here in just a minute so you can see what that number is. And let's go over to my Dexcom, and Dexcom once again, blood sugar right now is right here. And then looking down below, you'll see this is what my blood sugar has been ranging. So let's go ahead and let's take a look and see what the Dexcom has been saying. And the reason I like the Dexcom is that I can actually put my finger on it and we can see what those numbers have been doing. And you'll see there blood sugar is 130s according to this. And as you know, the Dexcom for me, all right, so different people have different ranges that the Dexcom gives them. But for me, my blood sugar, Dexcom tends to be about 20-ish, 20 or so points above the Libre. And so you see the 120, 130s, up to 140 there. And then right after lunch, we spiked up. Looks like we got, oh, look at that. Wow. Got up to 175, 171. And then back down into the 120s, 130s to where we are right now, 123. All right. And let's go ahead and let's take a look at my monitor. So here is my Keto Mojo, and here's my Contour. So if you think you know what my A1, my ketones are going to be, go ahead and drop that in the comments. While you do that, I'm going to go ahead and get into my container here and grab a ketone strip, and I need to find a brown one for blood sugar. There we are. And then grab a couple of lancets out of there so we can get a finger stick, and then get that organized. There you go. And then grab a strip for the Contour. Ooh, let me get that back in there. There we go. For the Contour. So here we are. So that's the Contour strip. And let's go ahead and open this guy. All right, there we go. And this is the Keto Mojo blood sugar strip. And here is my lancet. And this one is just a twist off. There you grab the top, twist that off, and find a finger. And let's make sure we get a nice good stick there. Hopefully, well, that one doesn't hurt that much. So I'm hoping that I still get, oh, yep, ooh, wow. That was a pretty brisk drop, even though it did not hurt that much. Ooh. Okay, so let's go ahead and see what those are. And go ahead and drop what you think my ketones are going to be. So 93 is what the 93 for the Keto Mojo, 99 for the Contour, and then right there you'll see 123 for the Keto Mojo. Sorry, not Keto Mojo, for the Dexcom, and 86 for the Libre. I wish I could actually get all four of them on the screen at one time, but I can't do that right now because both of the apps are running on my phone. If I had a new phone, another phone, I could do that. All right, but I only have one. Okay, let's go ahead and open up the ketone, and let me get that real quick so I don't want this drop of blood to dry. And of course, whenever you're trying to do something quickly, it doesn't quite work. There we go. Get this out and get that there, and boom, get that started. All right, here we are. And so I've not been fasting since we broke our fast on, what was that, 3-4 days ago. All right, so point one. All right, so point one, which is an interesting point to be made, so my blood sugars have been running over the last 3-4 days in the low 100s, 110, 115, 120. But I have not been eating a ketogenic diet, right? So I've been eating basically our balanced bites type of meals. And so I don't have ketones, right? So the blood sugars are good, but I don't have ketones. So my body has not been burning fat over that time. But one of the benefits of the balanced bites diet is that even though my body's not burning fat, my blood sugars are not spiking to such a rate that my body has to produce insulin to manage them. And if I'm not having to produce insulin to manage those blood sugars, then I am not putting on weight. So my body's not storing, right? So let's go ahead and let's take a look now at, so here is my Fit Index, and this is what I use to track my weight. And so if I go back, let's see, today is 1, 2, 3, okay, so I need to be here. So here's the 30th, right? So 187.4 was when I broke the fast. Well, actually 188.4, yeah, so right here. Broke the fast, 188.4. And so now 189.6. So over the course of the time since I broke the fast, right? So that's what, 1.2 pounds over the course of that time. And the reason I want to make that point here is that if you follow the plan, right? If you follow the plan, then the fluctuations that you see in weight don't have to be as profound as sometimes we do see. Because sometimes I'll have people say to me, hey, after when my weight went down, 3-4 pounds during the fast, and then after I broke the fast, my weight went up 3-4 pounds, right? And so they get this kind of yin and yang. And my point in showing you this is that this is 4 days. Yeah, so 3 days, 3.5 days after fasting, and the weight is 1.2 pounds. And that is a direct result of the fasting and the things I'm doing post-fast, which is our balanced bites. Okay, so that's a process I want you to always be cognizant of. All right, so now let's go ahead and let's take a look at actual blood sugars from my keto, my Dexcom Clarity. And here you'll see my average blood sugar of 105. This is over the last 14 days with a glucose management indicator of 5.8. So that means that if I were to get an A1C during this time based on these blood sugars, I would expect my blood sugar to be about 5.8. Right, I can't call it A1C because it is an estimation. And I am in target 99% of the time with blood sugars ranging between 70 and 180. If I look at the 90-day average, so because our A1C when we check it is going to be over 90 days, so 3 months, you see that my average is 109. Glucose management indicator is 5.9. I'm in target 96% of the time, target being the same, 70 to 180. Okay? And then let's take a look at what's been going on with my blood sugars over the last 3 days or so. And so here we are today. This is where we are right now, about 120. And so here's lunch. Like we saw, lunch spiked up to about 175, according to the Dexcom. But for most of the morning, we were in one teens up to maybe 145. And this right here, so notice I came into the morning, one teens, and then, so this is what, this is 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, one teens, 120s. So I'm sleeping at this point, right? And so I wake up in the morning and brush my teeth, and then right about there, and so blood sugars went up to 150, started coming back down, 130s, 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 120s. And had I not eaten lunch, they probably would have stayed in the one teens or even gone lower. And so I had lunch right here, and this right here is, I had a salad, and I think what caused this big spike were, I had probably about 6 cherry tomatoes and maybe 6 sticks of carrots as part of the salad, and of course the salad dressing. So I think that's what caused this spike, and then the rest of the time down into the 130s. Okay, now let's go backwards, and so here is Sunday. So we broke the fast on Friday, and here's Sunday, 130s, 130s, 130. Here's a 140, 141 right there, 150. All right, 130s, 130s, 130s. Here's a 140. That's Sunday. And here's the day of when we broke the fast. Oh, sorry, the day after fast, sorry. Right? And so this was an interesting day because I was out, we had some of our kids out camping, and so I was running out and back to the campsite, and I think I was just snacking in and out on the way for that entire day. Right? Every time I went out there, they were eating something, and I grabbed something. So that's what you see for this day. And then here is the actual day when I broke the fast. So we broke the fast right about here at 99. And I want you to notice what happened after the fast. So I broke the fast. You guys saw what I ate on the show to break that fast. And for the next, right, so that was here for the next 12 hours. We stayed in the low 100s, 120s, and then overnight, right, 1 teens. So dropped the kids off right in here, and came back home, and then went back out. And so this is what you see here, these fluctuations. Okay. Now, with all of that said, though, for the last 3 days, so no ketones, right? So 0.1, so normal ketones. Blood sugar is relatively stable in terms of, well, not that one day, but the other days pretty stable in the 120s, 130s, and the weight fluctuated 1.2 pounds. Now I want you to think about that process. And that is the benefit that we see when we are following the health action plan. People say, does fasting work? Does walking work? And all the things work? And the answer is yes, it does work. So one of the reasons that we show these numbers is I don't want this to be theory for you. I want you to be actually able to see what happens if you are following along, if you are moving in that direction, if you are doing those things. Okay? All right, now let's hop over, and I do see some of our community members out there. So we're going to go over and say hello to you. And let's see, who do we have? We've got Juyon. Juyon says, hey, Doctor and Limitless Living Gang. Hey, Juyon, how are you? Glad that you're here with us. Cornelia says, hey, Dr. Juyon and LLG. And Juyon says, hello to Cornelia. Cornelia's smiling. Gion is waving and smiling back. And hey, Teresa, what's up? Teresa said, hey, doctor and everyone. Cornelia, Gion, hi. And then here comes Steve. Hello, everyone. What's up, Steve? Glad that you're here with us. Gion says hello to Teresa. Hi, Steve. Hi, Teresa and Steve. And then I got some guesses for my my ketones, 0.3. And Cornelia says 0.7. Okay, so both of those in our normal range. You guys, give me a second here. It appears as though we are currently not on Instagram. So let me go ahead and see if I can fix that here really quickly. And let's see. Go to Instagram, edit the title, sending data, and let's see if we can get it out there. All right, so we'll keep going, and hopefully that'll pop up for you. If for those of you who are out on Instagram saying that you can't see us. All right, so let's go ahead and let's get into our discussion for this evening. All right, so in this episode, we are continuing our deep dive into the Limitless Living Health Action Plan. So the Limitless Living Health Action Plan is a structured, evidence-based system for reversing insulin resistance and rebuilding your metabolic milieu, or your metabolism, another phrase for that, layer by layer. Remember, the dysfunction that we find in our chronic diseases is the dysfunction of metabolism. So when we talk about chronic diseases, chronic illnesses, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, fatty liver, obesity, pre-diabetes and diabetes, and so many others, what we want to understand is that the dysfunction in all of those has to do with our metabolism. As you recall, metabolism is the process where the body takes the food that we eat and converts it to energy. And so along that process, when things don't work well, then that is where we find chronic disease. And the underlying culprit in all of that is insulin. So hyperinsulinemia, too much insulin. So the body produces too much insulin. Now, we've been taught and conditioned to think of insulin only when it comes to diabetes. But your body produces insulin normally to help manage blood sugars. That's what it's supposed to do. And insulin is a great factor in managing blood sugars. In fact, if you didn't have insulin, you could not survive. And so insulin is not a bad thing. It is the high insulin or the super amount of insulin that the body produces that causes the problem. Because when insulin comes out, it is a switch. Insulin says to the body, anything that I eat now, I need you to store. Anything that comes in, right? The insulin has to make a decision. Do I store it, wait, or do I use it for energy? And if insulin says I'm going to store it, then it starts causing downstream problems. So it stores things in fat cells. That's called weight gain. It stores things in liver. That's called fatty liver. It stores things, so insulin makes your vessels stiffer. That's called high blood pressure. It takes fat and it packages it and sends it out into your blood. That's called high cholesterol, which predisposes you to heart disease and strokes and peripheral artery disease. Insulin disrupts the regulation of our menstrual cycles for women, and so you can get polycystic ovarian syndrome. So you see all the downstream issues that come because of dysfunctional metabolism, and the underlying issue is insulin. So far in the Health Action Plan, we've talked about 2 tiers, right? So tier 1, walking and fasting, the rhythm and the reset. Remember, the walking gives us the rhythm, and fasting is the reset that we talk about. It's like coming into a house and gutting the house. That's what fasting does. It resets everything in your system. Then we went to tier 2, strength training and balanced bites. So this is the power, right? So the body we're building, strength training, and the fuel, the things that we eat. So that same house that we came in and we gutted, now with the balanced bites, we're saying, okay, what are we going to put into the house? But before we put into the house, the strength training says, okay, let's go ahead and let's put some walls up. Let's put some columns over here. Let's put a weight-bearing structure over here, right? So that's what the strength training does. And then the balanced bite says, okay, now let's fuel it. Let's fill it with the right things. So that's what we've been doing so far. And now, man, we step into tier number 3, internal alignment and restoration. And we're starting with pillar number 5, rest and recovery. Because here's the truth. You don't heal during the workout. And you don't heal while you're fasting. You heal between the efforts. When your body gets a chance to regulate, to repair, to rebuild, if fasting is the reset, then rest and recovery is the reinforcement. And so tonight, what we're doing, we're going to uncover why without it, healing slows down, stress builds up, and progress stalls, even when you're doing everything right. Come on. That's a point I want to make. As you heard me say at the top of when we started, if you're fasting and you're walking and you're strength training and you still are saying, man, I'm stuck, you may be missing this component right here. Because it is while this happens, while all those other things that you've been doing really take effect. Because the body heals, it builds, it assimilates, it regulates while we rest. So let's go ahead and let's dig right into that, because this might be the rest your body's been missing. So let's go ahead and let's talk about part sleep as the metabolic reset. Sleep as a metabolic reset. Okay? And so once again, remember what we're doing is, well, let me back up here for a sec. We're talking about how sleep is a metabolic window, right? So sleep as the metabolic window that we are using. So let's start with the recovery that's actually happening when we're sleeping. So sleep is often treated like downtime. Yeah, I've got this rest of my life, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some time off, and I'm going to go sleep. I'm going to rest. And sleep is often this time when it's kind of like when kids are young, right? They don't want to sleep because, and I think a lot of times they don't want to sleep because they think it's a waste of time. So like it's like those unprotected hours that you just have to get through before the next thing happens, right? Before the next fast happens, before the next workout happens, before the next day starts. But I want you to kind of reframe that and think about it in a different way, because sleep is not downtime. Sleep is biological prime time. It's not just the rest for the mind. It's an orchestrated system reset. Sometimes, and this may have happened to you, at work or even here. Sometimes I'm doing some stuff and I've installed a new piece of software, or I've added another piece of equipment, or there was a storm or something happens and I'm trying to work my system, work my computer, and things just aren't going well. And you know what I do? I reset it. I turn everything off and I count to 30 or whatever number, and then I reboot it. So it doesn't just reset the mind, it resets everything. But sleep goes beyond that. It rebuilds, and it has a regulation cycle that happens across nearly every major hormone in your body. Let me let you listen. So every hormone in your body begins to get regulated. And if you skip it, if you shorten it, if you disrupt it, then your metabolism pays the price. So what really happens metabolically when you sleep, right? So let's walk through some of those. So number one, you release growth hormone, one of your body's top fat burning and muscle preserving agents. It peaks during the first few hours of deep sleep, which means that if you are not getting deep sleep, or if your sleep is shortened, then the growth hormone is dysregulated. Your brain activates the glycophatic system. This is a drainage network that clears toxins, clears stress metabolites, and also clears inflammatory waste, especially crucial for brain clarity, mood, and cognition. Right? I want you to hear those. Right? Clarity, mood, cognition. Do you know anybody who didn't get sleep? Yeah. What are they like? They are irritable. They can't think straight. Right? So somebody go off and say, "What's wrong with you?" "I didn't get good rest last night." Or "I was up all night." Or "I was," whatever it was. Your cortisol level during sleep drops, allowing your parasympathetic, remember there are two systems. There's the sympathetic, the fight or flight, fight, flight, freeze, or the parasympathetic, which is the feed and breathe. So the fight, flight, stress hormones, when the sympathetic takes off, everything is heightened. Your heart rate goes up, your eyes become pinpoint or dilated, so that you can see. Your blood goes faster. All of those things are happening, getting you ready to handle whatever it is. And the parasympathetic, on the other hand, slows down. It says, "Hey, it's time for us to take a break. We can breathe now. We can go eat some things. We can hang out," right? So sympathetic, parasympathetic. So your cortisol allows the parasympathetic system to now take effect. And so you are now calming down. So you're coming online. You're coming out of that fight, flight, and is bringing your body out of that process into a more stable, sympathetic, relaxed feeling. Your insulin sensitivity resets. So meaning that your cells can absorb glucose more effectively when you wake up and your body is more metabolically flexible during this time. Right? So this is all happening, and these are just the hormonal changes. Not to mention things like ghrelin and leptin, which are the hunger and the satiety hormone. Right? When you come into that next day, if you have not slept, if you've not rested, then there is a stronger push for cravings, for some of those things that cause us to feel better, the foods that we say, okay, we didn't want to eat. So appetite regulation happens also, or gets better, when we sleep, because sleep directly influences your hunger and the fullness hormones, ghrelin and leptin. So what happens when sleep is missing or broken? Right? Cortisol stays high into the morning, which spikes your blood sugar before you even eat. Insulin resistance increases, meaning it takes more insulin to bring your blood sugar down the next day, right? So sometimes people say, "Oh, my blood sugar seems to be higher," and I say, "Well, what was your sleep like?" Right? And they'll say, "Oh, I didn't sleep well." Well, if that's the case, then your blood sugars are going to be higher, right? Because your cortisol is elevated, and because you are in that stressed position. The other thing is that your insulin resistance increases. So even the insulin that your body has just made does not work as well. Yeah, it doesn't work as well. And so ghrelin rises, leptin drops. So ghrelin is the hunger hormone and leptin is the satiety hormone. So those two hormones, now you didn't sleep well, and so you're more hungry. You're less satisfied. You're more likely to reach for processed foods, high carb foods, those snacky foods that are around. The growth hormone stays blunted, and your ability to recover between fasts, between strength training, or your emotional stress gets delayed. And so that process, right? So you're exercising 3 times a week, and you're walking, the other 4 days a week, and you've been fasting and you've been eating, but you're not getting the full benefit because you're not rested. Because this happens during sleep. Your energy and your willpower. Come on. Your energy and willpower, right? The willpower, the ability to resist, all of those go down. And so when the body is tired, it will default to the least resistance, right? So the thing that's easiest is what it's going to do. So if there's a cookie sitting on the table and you're having a craving, you're more likely to eat the cookie if you're not well rested. Why? Because it's easier to do that. The brain doesn't want to have to put any energy into deciding not to eat it. In fact, research shows that even just one night of 5 to 6 hours of sleep can cause a 25 to 30% drop in insulin sensitivity, elevated fasting blood sugars the next morning, increased cravings for sugar and starch, and impaired decision making and self-regulation. That's one night. Now imagine what happens when this is your baseline. This is just how things do. This is just where it is, right? You're chronically like that. So here's the thing. You're not just tired when you don't sleep. You're metabolically compromised. And we said that dysfunctional metabolism is the issue when it comes to chronic diseases. So it's not just that I'm tired. It is that my metabolism is compromised. The key system in my body that protects me against diseases is impaired. So sleep isn't passive. It's actually productive metabolic work. Your body cannot outsource this process. So if you've been fasting and training and eating, and you've been doing that well, but still feel stuck, this might be the first place to look. Because your fast may reset your hormones, but your sleep is where it gets rebuilt. And this rebuilds your body. Yeah? So next we're going to look at, so sleep is the metabolic, this is the reset window. So next, let's look at how a lack of sleep or otherwise starts to undo even the best efforts that we have. So what happens when you don't recover? So what happens in that process when we don't recover? So I'm not just talking about pulling an all-nighter or tossing and turning here and there, right? Because that happens. What I'm talking about is the chronic absence of true recovery. Whether that's poor sleep, mental exhaustion, emotional overload, or constantly pushing your body without rebuilding. Because we do that, right? We get into that habit, and some of us pride ourselves on the fact that, man, they can always count on me at work. I've never missed a day. I get there, I'm the first one in and the last one out. Right? That's a badge of honor. So what are some of those hidden consequences of incomplete recovery? Well, here's what's going on. Let's look like in real life. You're fasting, but your blood sugars are stubborn. You're eating well, but cravings won't go away. You're exercising, but that scale won't budge. And your energy level is lower. It's not higher. You're motivated, but you feel edgy, foggy, inconsistent. Why? Here it is. These are not willpower problems. And I want you to get that. Now, I mentioned willpower up above, but this is not a willpower problem. Excuse me. Right, these are hormonal warning signs that your body is in compensation mode and it's not in healing mode. And we don't want compensation. We want to actually be healing. So the stress, cortisol, glucose loop. Let's talk about that here. So chronically elevated cortisol, when your body perceives stress, happens, right? So whether physical, emotional, or even subconscious, it triggers a release of cortisol. That's a normal process that happens in the short term. But when recovery is missing, right? So you've had the stressful event, and you're supposed to come out of that stressful event, and now you're in recovery. And during the recovery, there's all the stuff that we just talked about that happens. But if you go from stress to stress to stress without the recovery, or there's just a chronic stressful process that's going on, your cortisol never fully comes down. And what that does is it tells your liver to release sugar, because remember, cortisol is the active arm of glucose, right? It goes out and finds energy. It blocks melatonin, which is the sleep hormone. It increases belly fat storage. Come on now, right in here. Right? You want to get rid of belly? Go to sleep. It suppresses muscle growth, right? Because the growth hormone, which is supposed to come out, is not there. And it decreases your insulin sensitivity, meaning that it pushes you closer and closer to, or into prediabetes and closer to diabetes. So even if you're not eating sugar, come on, even if you're not eating sugar, your body is making sugar because you're always in survival mode. And survival mode doesn't allow for healing. Because there is no healing in survival. Because remember, survival is, I need to live. So I'm not diverting any energy. I'm not putting any resources into healing the body. We just got to get away from the tiger. So why does the reset without the rebuild not work? Right? So this is why some people feel, this is why some people fast. and their glucose is still elevated. This is why they meal prep, they walk, they train, and they still plateau. Their blood pressure is still high. Their cholesterol is still high. They go to their doctor and they have not improved any of the risk factors for their heart disease. Because there's no rebuild after the reset. There's no calm after the challenge. There's a book that I read years ago. It's called Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. And zebras don't get ulcers because either the zebra has been caught by the predator and it's no longer alive, or the zebra doesn't worry about the predator anymore because it doesn't worry. But as humans, we're worrying. So the zebra, when it walks by that rock where the lion chased it yesterday, it doesn't say to itself, man, you know what? This is where that lion chased me yesterday. I wonder if he's still around. Or this is where that hyena tried to get me. I wonder if she's still here. It's out of its mind. It's gone. It doesn't think about it anymore. But us, man, we'd be creeping around that thing, looking around the corner, right? Call our friends. I mean, this is where they traced me yesterday. This is where they always got me. And every time we approach that rock, our heart rate would go up. Right? Our mind will go into a spasm. Cortisol level would go up, right? Because that's how we are. And so what's supposed to happen is you're supposed to get away from this. So the zebra got away from the predator and it no longer thinks about it. It's out of, and it goes into recovery. So if your body never has the chance to recover, it stays in that constant state of metabolic friction. It's fighting to maintain homeostasis, fighting to maintain sameness instead of moving forward into optimization. It's always, okay, I just got to keep vigilant. Rather than, okay, now let me take time, let me relax, let me calm, let me rebuild. So fasting clears the table, but recovery is what sets it for healing. No matter how clean your plate is, if you never reset, your body will resist. So now that we've looked at what happens when reset is missing, let's shift a little bit and let's talk about how to get sleep right. Right? So how do we get sleep right? Because this is where most people can make their fastest progress. Fastest progress. And the best part is it doesn't cost anything except your intentions. Right? That's all it is. So how do we actually optimize sleep to improve metabolic healing, boost insulin sensitivity, and stabilize hormones like cortisol, leptin, ghrelin? So here's your blueprint. So if you've not been writing anything down, here's a good point to start doing that. Number one, prioritize sleep timing. Prioritize sleep timing. And I'll have to say to you that of all the things that we talk about in the health access plan or action plan, this is the one that I struggle with the most. So within sleep, right? So I struggle with sleep. And within sleep, the place that I struggle the most is getting a consistent sleep window. Your body thrives on rhythm. And that includes when you go to bed and when you wake up. A consistent time supports melatonin production, right? So melatonin says, okay, I got to come out at this time. Otherwise, it doesn't know. It supports cortisol cycling and circadian alignment. So remember, circadian rhythm is that 24-hour clock that our body has. That's why people who are on swing shifts, right, their circadian rhythm is thrown off. And a lot of people who work swing shifts, they develop prediabetes, they develop weight issues, they develop other chronic illnesses, not because they are, quote unquote, doing something wrong, right? They may be exercising, they're going to the gym, they're eating right, but because their circadian rhythm is thrown off and they're not getting good rest. So you want to aim to go to bed about the same time every day, even on weekends. I got to work on this with my young guy who's here in the house. Because like everybody, and me too, when I was growing up, right, the feeling is, man, it's the weekend, so time doesn't matter. And it's the holidays, time doesn't matter. And it's summer vacation, time doesn't matter. But it does matter to your hormones and to your circadian rhythm. The magic window, listen to this, the magic window for melatonin and growth hormone production, right, these are the peaks, between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. And this is assuming a normal sleep cycle. So 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. So if you're up way past 2 a.m., you're missing two of the most essential hormones that help with metabolism. So missing that window, even if you sleep the same number of hours, can blunt the benefits that you get from those two. Right? That's number one. Right? So prioritize sleep timing. Number two, respect the eating window. So no meals, 1 to 2, sometimes people say 3 hours before you go to bed. When you eat late at night, your insulin stays elevated, especially if the meal includes sugary stuff, which a lot of us will eat. And high insulin blocks melatonin. So you had a meal an hour ago, hour and a half ago, and now you're trying to go to sleep. Well, melatonin is not coming out in its full force, and so you have difficulty going to sleep. And so your going to sleep is delayed. Because going to sleep is delayed, remember we said that there are certain things that happen in the very first few hours of deep sleep. So your sleep is delayed. Now you do go to sleep, but then you have to get up early to go to work or go to class or go do something. So you're shortened that window, and because you did not spend enough time in deep sleep, you don't get the benefits of recovery. Right? So your body stays in the digest mode when it should be in the repair mode when you eat late. So you want to try close your eating window at least 2 to 3 hours before bed. Save carbs for the next day, earlier in the day, and choose lighter evening meals if needed. Right? That's number 2. Number 3, ditch the blue lights. Power down your technology about 60 minutes before bed. Now, as I say that, right? So, can I tell on myself? There are some times that there's something that I'm working on, some project I'm working on, and I will, because I don't want to disturb other people when I come to bed, I'll turn the stuff off and I'll just get right here and I sleep. I fall asleep and get up, sleep for a couple hours, get up, and I'll do something here. But the lights are on. I mean, they're not. These lights are not on, right? So they're off, but there's the beep of the hard drive and the glow of this thing, and yeah. So ditch the blue lights. Power down technology about 60 minutes before bed. The screens emit blue light, which tells your brain it's daytime, even if it's midnight. The blue light suppresses melatonin by up to 50% is what they've said, what has been shown. And that delays sleep and reduces sleep quality. Right? So you want to turn off devices or use the light filters, right? One of those about 1 hour before bed. Choose alternative so how to say this. So one of the things I propose is I said people should journal, right? Now, I'm a techno geek, and so I do a lot of my stuff on technology. But I also have a handwritten journal. And sometimes just having that in hand, it calms me, I think clearer, and avoids me doing something on technology just up until I go to bed, right? Because if you're journaling, guess what? So a lot of times we'll journal up until we go to bed. That'll be our kind of relaxing, decompressing. That'll be our routine. But try to do that by hand. Right? So choose something that kind of relaxes you rather than scrolling. Right? Do some journaling, some prayer, some reading, some guided meditation. And then number 4, a cool, dark, quiet room. So create the right environment. Now, I don't like cool, right? So that's a thing. But all the other ones, right? Dark and dark and quiet. Right? So they say the optimal temperature, and I need to go find these researchers and talk to them and say, wait, are you guys sure? Right? They say it's like in the 60s, right? I'm not even going to tell you the number because it's ridiculous. Right, so use blackout curtains, use the mask. When we traveled overseas, one of the best sleeps I had was when I put that mask on, right? Because I didn't know anything else. There were people around me. There was the noise of the plane, which I loved, by the way. It sounded almost like thunder and rain, right? So I had that mask on, and I went, oh, it was so good. Okay, so maybe I need to take some more trips overseas. Keep the noise low and use white noise to block distractions, right? So I play rain sounds, thunderstorm sounds. I play ocean. I play ocean, but not as much as the thunderstorm sound because I love thunderstorms. And if you need additional help for sleep, talk to your healthcare provider. Right? There are different things that they can use. So good sleep is not an accident. It's not an accident. It's an architectural experience. It's an orchestrated process. And when you build the environment and the rhythm, your metabolism responds. But even when all of this is happening, sleep is still only a part of the equation. Because sleep is one type of rest, but it's not the only rest that your body needs. So let's talk a little bit about rest and recovery and why the pillar carries both names. Remember, it's rest and recovery. Why is that the case? It is really not just called reset, right? So it's reset and recovery because your body needs both. Why is rest important? So rest is important because it's about pausing, right? So we're pausing in the process. It's about creating a gap in your day or in your energy output. Rest can be sleep. It can be stillness. It can be deep breathing. It can be prayer. It could be silence. It could be mental disengagement from screens and stress and conversation. It's the moment you step away from the demand and let your nervous system downshift, right? Driving that stick shift and downshift, right? So what is recovery? Recovery is different. Recovery, it's not passive. It's biological work. It's the process your body initiates to repair demand. It is the rebuilding of tissue. It is the adapting of stress. Recovery includes muscle protein synthesis after strength training, glycogen rebalancing after fasting or intense movement, growth hormone spikes that preserve lean muscle, autophagy and cellular repair, emotional processing after mental fatigue. All of that is where rest and recovery is happening. Or this is recovery. I shouldn't say rest and recovery. This is where recovery is happening. Rest quiets the system and recovery upgrades the system. So why does the distinction matter? Because you can lie on the couch for 3 hours and still not be recovering. You might look like you're resting, but your mind is racing. Your phone is scrolling. Your cortisol is climbing. Or you might be doing light walk, hydration, or stretching, and your body is in full recovery mode because of what you're doing. Rest is the pause, recovery is the process. And both are required to heal, not just survive. So here's how I like to explain it. Fasting creates the catabolic environment, right? So it's the breakdown, right? So catabolism. Recovery supports the anabolic environment. That's the rebuilding. And rest provides the hormonal calm that lets it all happen. And I'm a hormone doctor, right? So I think everything works with hormones. I shouldn't say I think. Everything does work with hormones. So all the other specialists that are out there, I love you guys. I love you being in the body, but none of your stuff works without us. Is that a little biased? Yeah, it is. So one without the other, rest without recovery, right, leads to plateaus, leads to burnout, and rebound behaviors. So why can't you get away from the cravings? Why can't you stop buffering with whatever it is that you're buffering in? Because we need both rest and recovery. And so now that you know why both are beneficial and why they're essential, let's talk about how to integrate them into your everyday life. Not just at night, but during the day, in small strategic moments that tell your body, hey, you're safe. You can heal now, right? So what are some daily practices, daily recovery practices, how to build rest without sleeping? So how do we make this practical? Because most of us can take up to, we can't take naps, right? We can't take naps at 2 p.m. Or I suppose we could if we can force it. Or we can't go on 3-day retreats to reset our nervous system. But here's a good way to think about it. And this is good news. You don't need more than an hour in a day. You need micro moments of restoration. So the real goal is to regulate the nervous system, right? When we talk about regulating and restoring and dysfunctional metabolism, your body is constantly cycling between two states, sympathetic and parasympathetic. Fight or flight, fight, flight, and go, or rest and digest, which is the repair. So when you're always wired, when you're always stressed, when you're always rushing, when you're always overcommitted, when you're always going, your nervous system dominates, the sympathetic nervous system dominates, and it blocks healing. What we're aiming for is intentional downshifting to the parasympathetic system so that it can heal and it can be in that state. So here's some daily rest and recovery tools you can use. 5 of them. Ready? Number 1, breath work. If you've been following us on the Strength, Strategy, and Mindset, at the end of the show, we do some centering exercises and we do some breathing. Deep breathing lowers cortisol. It reduces heart rate. It calms the vagus nerve, and the vagus nerve is that sympathetic one. Try breathing. So it's basically called box breathing. So inhale for 4 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds, and hold it for 4 seconds. So in through your nose, hold it for 4, breathe out through your mouth, and hold it for 4. So inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, hold it for 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, exhale for 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and hold it for 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So basically box breathing. So you're learning how to control that. So that takes, what? Maybe a minute or two? Just one round of doing that for 2 to 3 minutes can completely shift your state. Number 2, stillness or silence. Start or end your day with total silence. Sometimes I get up in the morning and I just lay there. I'm not thinking about anything. Not that I'm trying not to think about anything, right? Nothing. I'm not talking. I don't need to go look at my phone. I just want to be there. So no input, no scrolling, no talking. Sit still, lie still, close your eyes, breathe. You can do the box breathing while you do this. This tells your body the threat is gone. It's time to heal. Preparing the body for that. Number 3, prayer or meditation. These practices often give mental rest and emotional reset. Whether you call it mindfulness, devotion, or centering, it's one of the best tools for inner regulation because it helps to get you centered. I read a book years ago called The Power of Now. Beautiful book that says, I'm here right now. I'm present right now. When I do my devotion, when I do my journaling, when I pray, all of those are methods of me getting into this space. Number 4, nature and movement. A slow walk outdoors without your phone can lower your cortisol by as much as 30% or more. No need to run, no need to jog. Just walk, just observe and be still. Now you can incorporate this into, when we talk about metabolic optimization via exercise, you can incorporate this into your process, right? So at the end of your walk, take about 10 minutes, 3 minutes, right? You've walked for 30 minutes, take a couple minutes. And as you're walking back, just relax, do some breathing. And then one that I just have to plug, journaling or emotional processing. Recovery also includes the mind. Give your thoughts a place to land so they don't swirl in your system all night. Sometimes we can't sleep because the brain is trying to remember all the things and trying to make sense of all the things that it had to deal with that day. But if we take a journal and we put that on the paper, when it goes on the paper, the brain says, I don't have to remember that anymore because I know where to go and find it. It's on the paper. And so that's one thing that's out of the mind. When you write, when you journal, right, that's a process of taking that information, and you have to think about the information in order to write it. That's why writing by hand is such a great thing. Because it has to come here, it has to go through the mind, and it has to come into an electrical signal so that your brain can tell your hand what to write. That is processing in itself. Gratitude journals. Write 3 things that you're grateful for. Offload one of the things that you're worried about. Okay, I'm grateful for this. This is the thing that's top on my list about worry. Put it on the journal. Guess what? Once it goes in the journal, your brain says, okay, I know where that is now. I can go pick it up whenever I want. Reflect on what healed or helped you stay grounded today. Whenever we had our community meetups, one of the very first thing I ask people is, what is a win that you had? What's a win? Writing creates a release. Release leads to regulation, and regulation leads to healing. So healing doesn't only happen at night. It happens in the space between stress. When you choose to stop, when you choose to breathe, when you choose to reflect, and you choose to just be. So now let's bring it home. Let's bring it all together. And look at how the pillars, this pillar, rest and recovery, supports every single other part of the health action plan. Because without recovery, rhythm falls apart, and without rest, reset doesn't stick. Yeah. So how reset and recovery reinforce the Limitless Living Health Action Plan? Rest isn't extra. It's not a nice to have. It's the glue that holds the Limitless Living Health Action Plan together. Rest supports fasting. Fasting works best when cortisol is balanced. Without rest, stress hormones rise and blood sugars stay elevated even if you haven't eaten. And because the blood sugar stays elevated, insulin stays elevated, and insulin inhibits ketone production. A well-rested body fasts longer, so you get into the fast sooner, and you stay in the fast longer, more calmly, without those struggles for the for you don't have those cravings. It can access fat more easily, the body, and stay out of stress spirals. We don't get those big spikes. Number one. Number two, recovery enhances strength training. You don't get stronger during the workout. You get stronger in the recovery after the workout. So it's not when you're lifting that you get strong. It's after those muscles have been fatigued, and you may have some tears in the fibers of the muscle. As those muscles recover, as they heal, they get bigger. If you don't sleep well, don't downregulate your nervous system. If you don't rebuild protein stores, your muscles don't grow, and you increase your risk of injury and burnout. And you're exercising, you're strength training, but you're not getting the benefit of the metabolically active muscles. Rest sharpens food awareness. Balanced bites. When you're well rested, your brain makes better food decisions. Your cravings decrease. Leptin and ghrelin, the hormones that control hunger and fullness, start working better again. And suddenly, balanced bites aren't a struggle, they become natural. Rest makes walking more powerful. People think they need to go harder. But when you recover and you become good at that, even a walk can become therapeutic. Walking helps you rest, and rest helps you walk. They're synergistic. Rest is the reinforcer. Think of it this way. Walking is the rhythm. Fasting is the reset. Strength is the stimulation and the building. Balanced bites is the nourishment and the fueling. And rest and recovery is the reinforcement. Without rest, without recovery, those other parts start to crumble. But with it, your result sticks. They stack on each other and they become better. So you're not just trying to do more, you're trying to heal better. And healing only happens when effort meets recovery. That is what's going on. This is the process. And you can start right now, at this very moment, to say, okay, I am going to get the rest that I need. And so here's your challenge for this week. Track your sleep. You don't have to change anything. What time do you start? What time do you wake up? And how do you feel? Are you getting appropriate rest? And add one non-sleep moment of each of rest to each of your days. Whether it's breath break, a journal session, or a quiet walk. One non-sleep rest moment, I guess I should say. One non-sleep rest moment. Right? So breathing, journaling, walking, whatever it is. And by all means, as you go through the rest of this week, protect the rest the same way you protect your meals and protect your workout. Because rest isn't weakness, it's wisdom. And wisdom leads to healing. And after all, the Health Action Plan is all about how we right the metabolism. We'll continue talking through the Health Action Plan as we move through the rest of the pillars. But make sure that you do what you need to do to make sure that this right now is a great part of what you are doing. Get some rest and recovery. All right, so that is our health action plan in action. Yeah. That's our health action plan in action. So rest is not just, and rest is, it's not a waste. It's not an option. It is the thing that we need to do if we are going to get all of the others tied together. Okay? Because it is during this process that we get all those benefits. Let's go ahead and say hello to, I do see some community members that are out there. Let's see. So I think we said hello to Teresa, Steve. Let's get down here. Guy Pierce, President, CEO. True that. Sleeping puts you in rest and recovery. And it says, very nice, Dwayne. Check out Med School Network link. We'd love to hear your feedback and input. Well, thank you for doing that, saying that to us. All right. So for everyone, remember, we are continuing in the process, and what we do is we're working on getting that metabolism better. So whether you are wherever you found us, whether you found us during one of our fasts, or talking about balanced bites, how we fuel the body, whether you found us during our walking series, where you found us during our strength training series, wherever you are, our platform is based on three things: educate, empower, and encourage. We educate with the shows, with the podcasts, with the blogs, so that you understand how your body works and what are the things that are going on in your system that you can make choices about. Okay? So sometimes it's a matter of changing our perspective, changing our mindset, giving us a different way of looking at something. So we educate, we empower with the tools. The health action plan, the Limitless Living Health Action Plan, is a tool. Now you have a blueprint of what to do, how to follow, what you can do to right your metabolism. The walking, right? 100-day walk to consistency that we are currently still continuing to do, right? So we've ended the series, but it's still a process. The strength training, strength strategy and mindset that we're doing. Balanced bites. All of those things are tools that allow you to put into practice what we've already learned. So we educate, we empower, and this amazing community that you are part of, that you are helping to build, that you get to see practical, actual success stories. And we get to support each other as we fast, as we talk about what we're eating, maybe some challenges that we're having. We've got our community meetup that happens once a week, once a month. We've got our community board, our Kajabi, where you can come and support each other. All of this is with the intention that we're creating an environment for ourselves that helps us to be successful, not just for today or tomorrow or next week or even the next month or year, but that it's going to take us for the rest of our lives. Because this is what we've got. We've got one life. We've got one body, and how we take care of it and the things that we do to right it and get it in the best possible shape, they're so important. So we educate, we empower, and we encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. So we will be back later this week as we continue our trek through this process. Of course, we'll do our fasting starting on tomorrow after probably about 1 o'clock or so. We'll do our check-in Wednesday night, Thursday, and Friday. Video from the vault on Saturday night at 9 p.m. And then, of course, This Week in Review on Sunday morning at 6 a.m. Next Monday, we'll be right back here for Dwain Woode, MD Live, as we continue walking through the Health Action Plan. And we will see you in the community meetup. I will see you after the show for those of you who are in our community. We'll be putting that link out here in just a minute. And I encourage you all, don't let the Limitless Living Health Action Plan just be a poster or be a show or be something on the wall. When you show up, go ahead, let us know, get involved. Remember what it's called? It's called the Limitless Living Health Action Plan, because action is what is needed. Your action gives it power. It's theory on the show. It's theory in the wall. It's theory on the video. It's theory in your note, in your journal. But when you begin doing it, when you begin applying it, then it comes to life. And then you can be a voice for change. There are over 1 billion people on the planet right now who struggle, who suffer from diabetes and prediabetes. That's just a part of the metabolism problem. We talk about high blood pressure, high cholesterol, fatty liver, obesity, and on and on and on. Those people need to know that they can make changes to their lives. And you, because you're having successes and because you are in the space, you can say to them, no, we don't have to keep having those issues. We can be better. And so you become a voice to help change the environment, because that's what Limitless Living says, right? It says that we are doing everything we can for our success, and part of our success is what goes on in the community. Hey, I'm always glad when I'm here with you. Always glad to be in the community with you. This is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. We're creating the life we've always wanted, and we are living limitless lives, which says we're not allowing anything from outside or inside to prevent us from doing what we need to do. We are breaking free from those constraints. We are presenting our best self, our best health, and the best plans for our lives. I want you to go ahead, live that limitless life, and don't let anything stop you. Good night, everybody. We'll see you in these streets.